Hey, it's Trisha. So today I want to talk to you about the 10 things that I've absolutely loved about being able to retire early. I think you'll be able to relate to a lot of these, and I think most people will find these extremely desirable. So I know people have kind of told you in retirement's boring and you're gonna not have anything to fulfill you, but I hope after listening to my experience that you'll see it's quite desirable. So my first one is number one, the ability to have freedom over my schedule, being able to determine what I want to do for the day, what I want to spend my time on, not having to worry about getting up at the crack of dawn, getting up to an alarm early in the morning, being able to, just wake up when my body says it's time. That has truly been joyful. Because sometimes I'm up early and sometimes I'm not. And it's kind of funny, but when you have that mindset and that ability, sometimes you end up staying up later than you normally would because you don't have to get up early for the next day. So being able to do what I want to do during the day and not have to answer to someone else's schedule has been priceless. Also, not having to commute for me, that was huge. That commute was extremely tiresome. And so that was a big encouraging factor in me retiring early is just not having to do that commute. So that would be my number one. Number two would be the time for health and wellness. Being able to work out every day is hopefully going to pay dividends in the future. Maintaining a healthy lifestyle helps with your mental clarity and being able to be more productive during the day because you're not exhausted. And so for me, I love prioritizing my physical fitness, and that usually, I'm busy until 1 every day because I already have a schedule that I follow that allows me to do that. And that helps with my mental clarity. So not sure of the science behind it, but it's definitely makes me feel more content and more happy in life by not having by being able to exercise and having an outlet to let that energy out. So that would be my number two. Number three would be more family time, being able to, help my parents. They're both in their 80s. And although they're, relatively fit, I see the struggles. And usually it's more just, remembering things or needing help with technical things. That's kind of why, well, that's the main reason why I started volunteering several years ago at the library in my local neighborhood, was because I know how my mom struggles with technology and I know there's others. And unfortunately, our society right now does not give them the help that they need. So, I want to be able to be there for them. I'm glad that, it's not a full time job, but, having to take to different doctor's appointments and stuff like that, I'm glad that I'm here to be able to do that. Also, being able to go on staycations where I get to visit family. That's been beautiful because I don't have a timeline, there's not a rush, and I could truly enjoy the time that I spend with them. So, to me, spending time with family and friends and having deeper relationships without all of the worries of work, that's been huge. Another wonderful thing about retiring early is having the ability to work on creative projects that maybe you didn't have time to before. So for me, what that looked like was being able to, I learned how to make soap. Let's see, I learned how to juice. I started a little garden from seed and I moved it then into planters. Um, the last thing that, most recent thing that I did was my mom has a big, beautiful fig tree in her backyard, and it produces so many figs that we're just not able to consume them all. And so I had a whole bunch left over, and I decided that I would make jam. And oh, the jam turned out so delicious. So something that I probably would not have done before, but because I have the time and I have the energy, allows me to look into things and do things that I probably wouldn't have been able to do. So That's one thing that I've really enjoyed about retirement. Number five is travel, traveling on my terms, not being on a set schedule where, I only have 2 weeks vacation from the company. And so I've got to fit in all the things that I want to do within those 2 weeks. I don't have to worry about that. I get to go and travel for however long I want. And it's just been amazing, to be able to go to places where you can experience the culture, the food, the people, and then also throw in whatever sites you want to see. But there's not this big pressure to have to hurry up and rush. I can take my time. And so this year I was able to go to three international destinations. I was able to go to Japan and to Cabo and to Greece, and just had the most amazing time. And I love learning about other cultures. So those are the things that I appreciate most, is not having a rush schedule and to be able to really slow travel. So that's traveling on my terms. Number six would be living with less stress. So I know all of us have been doing our jobs for so long that we don't think that they're stressful, but they really are. It's not just the stress of the job, it's getting there, it's the expectations, it's the deadlines. I come from IT, and so we're constantly doing upgrades, and that impacts a lot of people. And you need to make sure that everything is done appropriately, correctly the first time, because you don't have the luxury of failing. And so that's a lot of stress, and being responsible for the people that do it is even more stressful, because you're doing your job, but you can't really enforce others to do theirs. And so you're hopefully, you have a great team, and that everybody can take care of their own piece. And so worrying about that's one thing that I do not miss, and I'm so happy not to have in my life now, is the whole stress that comes with work. Another thing that I've loved about early retirement is focusing on, those passion projects. And I think I went into one of them last video about how I've really been indulging in creating apps, and then the whole process with getting them to work, and then putting them on the website, and then it's more than just one piece. There's several pieces to it. And so being able to connect them and put them together successfully has been a challenge, but it's been so fun, and I love being able to to see my end results. And so I really enjoy passion projects because they keep my mind sharp, and it's all a learning process, and it's what fulfills me. So that's on the top of my list for things that I've really enjoyed in early retirement. Number eight is financial peace of mind. You know, our entire lives we're saving, 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 and you never really know if it's going to amount to anything. We hope, we think. And when you're younger, you don't have the knowledge that you do when you're older. And so to be able to see this compounding that's happened over decades, starting out small, I think my first investment was at 19, and it was very small. And I've made my, wrong choices throughout the process. So as we're growing and learning, it's just wonderful to be able to kind of reach the pot of gold, and to see how really just minor efforts can really amount to quite a bit if we're just consistent. Being consistent has probably been the main thing. Being able to understand where your money's going, and then being consistent with your investments, that's probably the number two things that have helped me achieve financial independence. So watching that come to fruition has just been wonderful. Knowing that, my efforts have all amounted to something, have been, so worthwhile. Another thing that has been so incredible in retiring early is just the simple joys. Things that you just take for granted, things that, that don't seem like a big burden to anybody, but they're so incredibly fulfilling. For me, being able to grind my own beans and get make my own latte or espresso shot every single day. I love it. It's a simple joys of life that when you're rushed and you're busy and you're running around, you don't have time for those small little joys. Taking my dog out for a walk, going to the beach midweek in the middle of the or early evening to get sunset. Those are things that are just simple joys that I now have time for, and I absolutely have really appreciated it and love it. And then my final thing is just number 10 is just having the confidence of choice. Being able to choose and pick what you want to spend your time on, what you want to work on. You know, waiting until you're 65, 70, 75 to retire, you just don't know how much time you have left on this planet Earth. So for me, I didn't want to gamble with that. I wanted to get as much as I could out of my retirement. And so I did this so that I had that window of time where I could focus on me. I can spend the time on the things that I wanted to do because I know that sooner than later, my kids are going to get married and have kids, and I'm going to want to be a part of my grandchildren's lives, just like my parents have been. So for me, this is my window, and I kind of feel bad for people that want to work until they're 75. We had a coworker that he retired at 65 and he died a year later. And so I don't want to be that. I want to have fun, I want to enjoy it. And so for me, having the confidence to say, no thanks, I don't need that extra, you know, money that's going to cause me stress and pain. I'd rather just, do something different. I like having the ability to choose where I spend my time and who I spend my time with. So, those are my top 10. Like I mentioned, this is woohoo, 1 year anniversary for me. And I can say with no doubt that this has been an amazing first year. And I'm looking forward to so many more. So if you have any questions, you have any comments, please feel free, drop them below. Let me know what you think. Okay, talk to you soon. Bye bye.